Innallaha faliqul habbi wa nawa yukhrijul hayya minal mayyiti wa mukhrijul mayyata minal hayy zalikumullahu fa anna tufakun. This is ayat number 96 of Surah Al-Anam. Before I will go to depth of this verse, let us first take a view what we have read before this. We need to remind ourselves here of what we said in our prologue to this surah. Most of all, we need to remember how its views follow close on the heels of each other in the endless flow, and how its scenes are portrayed in a breathtaking splendor, coupled with a superbly inspiring rhythm. You know this. जो भी इस सूरह अनाम को पढ़ता है उसको ये महसूस होगा कि ये एक जगह से इंसान को समझाकर फिर दूसरी जगह पे लाता है, वही बात दूसरे तरीके से समझाता है. This surah tackles its subject matter in a unique way. At every turn, in every situation or scene, it brings out in sharp relief all the awesome splendor. We follow its scenes and changing powerful rhythm. In its quick flow of the scenes, inspirations, rhythms, images, and the shades, it resembles a fast, wide river flowing with white water. As one wave reaches its breaking place, the next one follows very closely, almost reaching out to the one that has just gone by. The flow remains continuous, unending. In every one of these flowing and closing successive waves, the same rich splendor is there to see, and in all the scenes portrayed, we have superb harmony. Thus, we are absolutely first by the splendid scene, then their lively images, the powerful music, the inimitable expression, the flood of inspiring figures of speech. The surah addresses man's heart and mind from every angle and in every way possible. All these features are seen at their clearest in this passage. The reader feels as thought the scenes spring to life with all their color and brightness, jumping up in front of us just as the rhythm follows with the words that are recited, striking a note of perfect harmony. Each scene spreads itself before us like a bright spark appearing from the distance and gradually exhibiting its full, captivating splendor before our very eyes. Another spark is then produced by the very expressions that are used, and its rhythm strikes harmony between the scenes portrayed and the meanings illustrated. Constancy is felt in the flow of expression, and harmony is unmistakable in the brilliantly painted scenes. You know this once you read this surah. Now I will leave these another things let to come on main point. In this manner, the early signs of life. It is God who splits the grain and the fruit stone. Hazrat Rasul Akram sallallahu alaihi wasallam always recite these verses, and just like other things. Allahumma ya faliqul habbi wa nawa. Allahumma anta awwalun laysa qablaka shay wa anta akhirun laysa ba'daka shay. Like these things. Now let us come to see. It is God who splits the grain and the fruit stone. He brings forth the living out of that which is dead, and the dead out of that which is alive. Such is God. Yukhrijul hayya minal mayati wa yukhrijul mayyata minal wa mukhrijul mayyata minal hayy. Are you deluded away from the truth? This is the great miracle whose secret remains unknown to all creatures and which cannot be emulated by anyone. This is the miracle of life. It is innovation and progress. At very moment, a grain or seed splits open to produce a shoot of plant, and a fruit stone breaks open to bring the life of a tree. This life which remains latent in the seed, grain, and the fruit stone, and which is evident in plant and the tree, remains is in both. Now note one thing here. Atheists nowadays make a great fuss about man's ability to produce some substance which until recently could not have been produced except through interactions taking place within a living creature. They should know that there is a great difference between an organic substance and a living one. Moreover, this processed substance has been made out of material that has been created by God. Remember this thing. Human beings will never be able to create it themselves. Author's note. This is the author's note. Now the second note is, this was written in the early 1960s before the recent developments in various aspects of life study and the new techniques in genetic engineering. Still, his view is valid as none of these techniques attempts anything close to creation. Not even cloning. These techniques rely on using what is created by God to modify the process of reproduction. This is also the editor's note. Now see the miracle of Quran. And now I was saying that which is evident in plant and tree remains is in both substance and source. A secret which is known only to God, having observed all the various characteristics and stages of life making, remains today in the same position as the first man on the earth. We know the outer aspect of life and its purpose, but its source and substance remain an unknown secret. Yet life goes on and the miracle of starting life occurs very second. Right at the beginning, God brought forth the living out of the dead. This is a notable thing. We should think about this point. Right at the beginning, God brought forth of living out of the dead. The universe, or at least our planet Earth, existed, but there was no life on it. Then life began after God originated it from something that was dead. How did he do that? We recently do not know. Even since that moment, life has been created out of what is dead. Dead particles are transformed every moment through living creatures into organic living substance that form part of living bodies. Although they are originally dead particles, they are transformed into living cells. the reverse also takes place. At every moment, living cells became dead particles until one day a complete living entity became a dead body. He brings forth the living out of that which is dead, and the dead out of that which is alive. Yukhrijul hayya minal mayati wa mukhrijul mumita minal hayy. Now, no one can do this other than God. It is God alone who can originate life from something that is dead. And it is He alone who gives a living entity the ability to transfer dead particles into living cells. Again, He alone can complete the cycle and transform the living cells into the dead particles. No one has ever acquired certain knowledge of this cycle. When did it start and how does it proceed? We only have assumptions, theories, and probabilities. Every attempt to explain the origination of life in any way other than it is being created by God has ended in total failure. At one stage, Europeans ran away from the church in a flight similar to the one described by the Quran as the flight of those who willfully turn away from divine guidance, like terrified asses fleeing from a lion, like terrified asses fleeing from a lion. Ever since, they have been trying to find an explanation for the evolution of the universe and for the life without having the admit that it is all God's work. All their attempts, however, have ended in miserable failure. In the 20th century, there remained only there remained only a few lingering attempts attempts all totally devoid of sincerity. They all share a distinctive characteristics, namely pig-headedness. An increasing number of scientists admit that there is no way to explain the beginning and progress of life except by a clear acknowledgement that it is all God's work. What these scientists say in characteristics of the present attitude of modern science to this whole question. Nevertheless, some people in our part of the world continue to feed on the leftovers of 18th and 19th century Europeans. They turn away from religion because it speaks imperceptible while they claim to be scientific. Their assertions need no comment for us. What they really need to do is to refer to what scientists nowadays acknowledge, and that the origins of the life lie with God alone. We will select only a few quotations from some Western scientists. Right? Frank Allen, professor of biophysics at the University of Manitoba, Canada, says if if in the origin of life there was no design, then living matter must have arisen by chance. Now, chance, a probability as it is termed, is a highly developed mathematical theory which applies to that vast range of objects of knowledge that are beyond absolute certainty. This theory puts us in possession of the soundest principles on which to discriminate truth from error and to calculate the likelihood of the occurrence of any particular form of an event. Proteins are the essential constituents of all living cells, and they consist of the five elements carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, and sulfur, with possibility 40,000 atoms in the ponderous molecule, as there are 92 chemical elements in nature, all distributed at random. The chance that these five elements may come together to form the molecule. The quantity of matter that must be continually shaken up, and the length of time necessary to finish the task can all be calculated. A Swiss mathematician, Charles Eugene Charles Eugene has made the computation and finds that the odds against such an occurrence are 10 raised to power 160. 10 raised to power 160 to 1, or only one chance in 10 into 10 raised to power 160. That is 10 multiplied by itself 160 times, a number too large to be expressed in words. The amount of the matter to be shaken together to produce a single molecule of protein would be millions of times greater than that in the whole universe. For it to occur on the earth alone would require many, almost endless billions, 10 raised to power 243 of years. 10 raised to power 243 of years. Now count this number. Can anyone do this? Proteins are made from long chains called amino acids. The way those are put together matters enormously. If in the wrong way, they will not sustain life and may be poisonous. Note this also. Professor J.B. Lithus, England, has calculated that the links in the chain of quite a simple protein could be put together in millions of ways, that is 10 raised to power 48. It is impossible for all these chances to have considered to have coincided to build one molecule of protein. But proteins as chemicals are without life. It is only when the mysterious life comes into them that they live. Only infinite mind, that is God, could have foreknown that such a molecule could be the abode of life, could have constructed it and made it live. Irving William Knobloch, professor of the natural sciences and the Michigan State University, says science has no adequate explanation for the origin of the many submicroscopic particles of the matter known to exist. It cannot explain solely upon the laws of chance how atoms and molecules could have come together to form life. The theory, which states dogmatically that all higher forms of life have evolved to their present state by chance, mutations, recombinations, polyploidy, or hybridization, requires an act of faith and adherence to it, an act of unreasoned acceptance. Albert M.C. Combs, Winchester, chairman of Department of Biology at Citizen University and former president of Florida Academy of Science, says, my field of study has been in the broad field known as biology, the science of the study of life. Of all the magnificent creations of God, there is none which can surpass the living things which inhabit our planet. Consider a small clover plant growing by the roadside, where among all the marvelous man-made machines can we find its equal. However, impressively but constantly, day in and day out, brings about thousands of complex chemicals and physical reactions, all under the direction of the protoplasm, the material of which all physical life is composed. From whence came this complex living machine? God did not God did not personally mold it with his own hands and shape every leaf and root on it. No, he has created life with the ability of self perpetuation, the ability to continue the species down through the generations with all the characteristics which make it recognizable as a clover plant. To me, this is the most fascinating branch of biology and the greatest revolution of the majesty of God. Here we are dealing with a world of infinite smallness, because the pattern for the construction of a new clover plant must be contained with a protein of a single cell so small that it can be seen only with a powerful lensed microscope. Every vein, every hair, and every branch of the stem, roots, and the leaves have been formed under the direction of tiny engineers within the one cell from which the plant grew. There is a definite beauty in the way of this Quranic verse related to operation of the life and death cycle to God alone. It first makes a clear statement. It is God who splits the grain and the fruit stone. He brings forth the living out of that which is dead, and the dead out of that which is alive. This is verse number 95, which are we reading, Satan. It then attributes all to God. Such is God. Remember this. He is the originator of this ever renewable miracle which remains covered with secrecy. He is creator and the Lord to whom everyone should submit themselves and obey without hesitation. Such is God. How then are you deluded away from the truth? This is the truth which is clearly apparent to eyes, hearts, and minds. How can anyone pretend not to see it or refuse to admit it? Thank you very much. Thank you.